At the end of our last episode, I made you a promise. I told you about a village in Tokushima Prefecture, a place where, for over a century, the outside world barely knew it existed, where the people who lived there intended to keep it that way. This is that place. Deep in the mountains of Shikoku, Japan's smallest and least visited main island, there is a valley so remote, so deliberately cut off from the rest of the country, that for centuries it could only be reached by crossing bridges made of twisted vines. Bridges that, according to local tradition, were designed to be cut at a moment's notice. The valley is called Iya, and the mystery of who really lived here and why they were hiding is one that historians are still debating today. To understand why Iya matters, you first need to understand where it is. Iya Valley sits in the western mountains of Tokushima Prefecture, carved over millennia by the Iya River into some of the most dramatic gorges in all of Japan. The valley walls drop hundreds of meters. The forest is so dense it blocks out the sky. In winter, the entire region disappears beneath cloud and fog for weeks at a time. For most of Japan's history, there were no roads into Iya. The only way in and out was across the Kazurobashi. These bridges, woven from the thick vines of a plant called Saikokazura, were rebuilt every 3 years in a ritual that the local community maintained for generations. They are beautiful. They are also terrifying, swaying over gorges so deep that the river below looks like a thin silver thread. Today, Iya is accessible by road, and a small number of tourists make the journey each year. But step off the main routes, climb the steep paths between the ancient farmhouses, and you feel it immediately. The sense that this place was built by people who did not want to be reached. People who chose the most inaccessible valley in Japan for a reason. The question is, what were they afraid of? Historians, archaeologists, and local storytellers have put forward 3 major theories about who first settled Iya Valley and why. Each one is fascinating. Each one is, at least partially, supported by evidence, and none of them has ever been conclusively proven. Theory 1. The defeated samurai. In 1185, one of the most decisive naval battles in Japanese history was fought in the Shimonoseki Strait, the Battle of Dan no Ura. On one side stood the Taira clan, who had dominated Japan for decades. On the other, the Minamoto clan, who were hunting them to extinction. The Minamoto won, decisively. The Taira were slaughtered, scattered, and erased from power in a single afternoon. But not all of them died. According to a tradition that has been passed down in Iya for 8 centuries, a group of surviving Taira warriors, soldiers, retainers, women, and children fled into the mountains of Shikoku. They crossed into Iya Valley and simply disappeared. They burned the bridges behind them. They adopted new names. They buried their armor, their clan records, and their identity, and they became farmers. Local families in Iya still claim descent from Taira warriors today. There are graves deep in the forest marked with Taira family crests, and there is a ceremony, still performed annually, in which the descendants of these refugees mourn the fall of their clan, facing west toward the sea where their ancestors were defeated. They have been doing this every year for over 800 years. It is one of the most haunting living traditions in all of Japan. Theory 2. The indigenous people. Not everyone accepts the Taira story. Some historians argue that the real first settlers of Iya were not defeated samurai at all, but a far older group of people entirely. Japan has a long and complicated history with its indigenous populations. The Ainu of northern Japan are well documented, but some researchers believe that other indigenous groups, pushed to the margins as the Japanese state expanded, retreated into the most inaccessible landscapes they could find. Iya Valley, in this theory, was a refuge not from a single battle, but from centuries of displacement and erasure. The evidence here is more circumstantial, found in certain local customs, agricultural techniques, and spiritual practices that don't align neatly with mainstream Japanese tradition. Practices that suggest a community that developed in isolation, not for decades, but for centuries before the Taira ever arrived. This theory raises uncomfortable questions about Japanese history that the country has not always been eager to answer. Theory 3. The criminals in the exiled. Japan's feudal period was not kind to those who found themselves on the wrong side of the law, or the wrong side of a political dispute. Exile was a common punishment for nobles, monks, and warriors who fell from favor. Criminals of lower status faced worse. And for ordinary people caught between competing powers, there was often nowhere to turn. Some historians argue that Iya Valley accumulated its population gradually, not through a single dramatic exodus, but through generations of people who had no other options. People fleeing debts, fleeing punishment, fleeing family shame. People for whom the impossibility of Iya wasn't a deterrent. It was the entire point. In this reading, Iya was less a hidden kingdom and more a place that asked no questions and expected none to be asked. A valley that absorbed Japan's unwanted and gave them somewhere to disappear. The truth, most historians now suspect, is some combination of all three. Iya was probably settled in waves, each group drawn by the valley's remoteness for their own reasons, layering their stories on top of each other until the origin became impossible to untangle. Whatever the origins of Iya's people, the question of how they survived is just as remarkable. The valley floor was too narrow and too prone to flooding for reliable farming. So the people of Iya did something extraordinary. They climbed. They carved terraced fields into slopes so steep that working them required roping yourself to the hillside. They grew millet, buckwheat, and later potatoes in soil that most farmers would have considered unusable. They became self-sufficient to a degree that was almost total. Iya produced its own food, its own building materials, its own tools. The vine bridges were not just infrastructure. They were a symbol of the community's philosophy. Strong enough to hold, cuttable in an emergency, always under their own control. The farmhouses of Iya reflect this same philosophy. Known as gasho zukuri, the same steep-roofed style we saw in Gunma's silk villages in our last episode. They were built to be warm in winter, functional, and almost entirely self-contained. Extended families lived together under one roof, multiple generations. Everyone had a role. For centuries, this worked. The outside world left Iya alone, partly because reaching it was so difficult, and partly because there was nothing there that anyone wanted badly enough to make the journey. The valley existed in a kind of voluntary obscurity, hiding in plain sight on maps that most people never consulted. Then Japan changed, and Iya, like every other hidden place, could not stay hidden forever. In the 1960s and 70s, roads finally reached Iya, and with the roads came the same forces that had already emptied hundreds of other Japanese mountain villages. Young people left for the cities, schools closed, the population collapsed. By the 1990s, Iya was on the verge of becoming another ghost valley, another entry in Japan's long list of places that used to be alive. But then, something unusual happened. In 1973, an American writer and scholar named Alex Kerr stumbled upon a derelict 300-year-old farmhouse in Iya Valley. He bought it for almost nothing, spent years restoring it by hand, and in doing so, accidentally started a movement. The house, called Chiori, meaning House Where the Flute Plays, became a focal point for people interested in preserving traditional Japanese architecture. It attracted volunteers, architects, and eventually tourists from around the world. Kerr's work in Iya helped pioneer what Japan now calls the Satoyama Revival, a growing movement to restore and repopulate its abandoned rural communities. Iya today is still sparsely populated. It is still remote, but it is alive in a way that many similar valleys are not, kept breathing by a combination of local stubbornness and the efforts of outsiders who fell in love with what they found there. The people of Iya hid for centuries. Now, slowly, the world is finally finding them, and what the world is finding is extraordinary. Iya Valley is many things: a hiding place, a refuge, a community built on the foundations of defeat, displacement, and the very human desire to disappear. But more than anything, it is a reminder that the most remote places on Earth are never truly empty. They are full of stories. Stories that required extraordinary effort to bury and that deserve extraordinary effort to uncover. The Taira warriors who may have settled this valley burned their bridges and buried their armor. But they could not bury their ceremonies. They could not bury the graves in the forest, or the memory of a sea battle fought 8 centuries ago, or the grief that their descendants still carry every year when they face west and mourn. Some things refuse to stay hidden. In the next episode, we leave Japan for the first time. We're going to a place on the other side of the world. A village so completely isolated that when outsiders finally reached it in the 20th century, the people living there had no idea the First World War had ever happened. Or the Second. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.